Hi, I'm Peter Gould, executive producer and co-creator of Better Call Saul. This is episode 508, Bagman.
And hey, everybody, this is Vince Gilligan. I directed this episode.
Hey, this is Gordon Smith. I wrote this episode.
Hi, I'm Bob Odenkirk. I play Saul Goodman.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Banks, and I was forced to do this under pressure.
And I'm not sure what I'm doing with this illustrious group, but my name is Dave Porter, and I'm the composer for Better Call Saul.
Yay.
Yay. That's a lot of gore.
What was this stuff made of, Gordon? Do you remember?
I think it was actually brains. I think it was brains of deceased crew members that we used. Actually, I have no idea. I'm sorry. I have literally no idea.
And right on the other side of those fuel tanks is a junkyard that we shot in for the movie El Camino. It's actually within sight, except that it's a little bit overexposed back there.
Was that puddle just there, or did you put it there?
We added it. We added it because I figured, what's better than 2 cousins? 4 cousins.
This was one of the biggest production challenges actually in the whole episode, was getting these cars that we had to have Dennis Milliken, our transportation coordinator, bringing these extremely expensive and very beautiful cars all fitting into this space with our production designer Mark Freeborn.
What was the most expensive one? Do you remember?
I can't remember. I think it was actually the Lamborghini, but there was another one that they walked past that's like across from it that is something on the order of $300,000 for a classic car.
Right, like that steel gray Lamborghini near the beginning. Yeah, I think you're right. That was like $300,000 or $400,000. Yeah.
And what year was it? Do you remember?
It's the late 80s, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Late 80s, early 90s. Beautiful car. They were all beautiful cars.
They were all beautiful. And you called out in the script that particular padlock. You wanted that particular brand. Was there a reason for that?
I was just looking around to see what, in the vein of padlocks, seemed like something that the cousins would use, and I found that particular brand that is, it's like 3 pounds of metal, and almost you can't pick it. You could cut through it, but it would take a blowtorch, half an hour to get through that much steel. So I just wanted something that seemed like they were putting the absolute holy of holies behind it, which was all their money.
Absolutely.
Viewers who've been with us since Breaking Bad will recognize the music here, which when I wrote back, was that season 3 we introduced the cousins, Breaking Bad? Somebody help me.
That's right. Yeah.
But, never imagined I'd get as much mileage out of the music we wrote for them, but here it is in a new form.
What is the instrument that kind of whooshing fan-like sound? What is that?
It's a war whistle. It's based on a design used by Aztec warriors to scare their opponents.
How appropriate is that?
What's so funny?
And there's the man. There's who we all been waiting to see.
Both of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of you guys. That's true.
The two of you together are magic. I love watching the two of you work together.
A little past Deming, there's a state road.
It's super fun. I love it.
What do you think about when you're working with Lalo? What do you think? Where do you think Jimmy's head is at?
Me or Jimmy? As Bob Odenkirk, one of the things I think is that Saul brought this certain air of humor and lightheartedness almost to Breaking Bad, and Lalo brings that to Better Call Saul. He gets to be the guy who's not in the crosshairs and is playing with everybody around him. And I envy him that he gets to do that. But I also like switching it up. I like playing both sides of this game. So I guess I just enjoy I enjoy Tony's energy and his performance, and I try to bring the other side of the equation, the fear, the gravity, the kind of, the mouse getting played with, and he's just the greatest. He's just a great guy. I mean, it's this. There's so many scenes now, where I see the person I'm playing against here or opposite, John Banks or Tony, and I'm just with the best people in the world, best actors, best, Ray. I mean, I fucking, it's a joke. It's ridiculous. And I'll take it. It's great fun to see. I was commenting in the previous episode, and I know we're in 508 now. I just did a recording of one of these, and it's just a horrible, sad situation that Saul, Jimmy has become Saul and immediately is in so much trouble because he's got this guy in his life. It's just crazy that he didn't get a break, not much of one, to just be Saul and make some money and have some fun. He's just scared right away. And he should be.
This was, I remember this was like the best of times and the worst of times directing this scene. It's best because I love working with you two guys. And of course, Gordon gave us a great script here, great dialogue. But man, do I hate shooting in a little square box of a room. There's no place you can put the camera that someone hadn't put the camera before. Yeah, I remember loving what you guys were doing and loving the scene, but thinking, God, where do I put the damn camera where it's not going to just be boring as shit?
You weren't happy to be indoors for once in this episode?
Well, that's a good point. It was at least air conditioned.
Drive through the desert, huh?
I remember stopping by this day, and the crew was hydrating. Let's put it that way, because this particular episode was a tricky shoot, wasn't it?
Oh man.
We'll get
to that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, even in that teaser, which is all indoors, it was like 100 degrees in there, just this tin roof that was sucking up the sun. And then when it wasn't doing that, it was pouring rain and knocking out the power. And at one point we were in the dark with work lights running off of a generator, just shooting whatever we could to pick up pieces. It was incredible.
It was an old Sherwin-Williams paint factory, right? And you guys had shot at it before on other episodes?
That is, everything you just said is true.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's funny that we complain about, how hot it was. And believe me, I will do some complaining here. And all of us are so anxious to go back to work.
How wonderful is this lady? Ray is just wonderful. Best. She's pretty wonderful. I love working with Ray. I didn't get much chance to work with Ray on this one because Gordon, I kept saying to Gordon, add more Kim, and Gordon and Peter both said no. No.
It was staunch refusal.
Yeah. We just wanted to torture you.
Who has the dog with the toy?
Take a guess.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Gordon.
It's me. It's actually, yeah.
No, it's not.
It's actually my underwear. It's a thing that they do.
Well, there's no surprise.
Yeah. I love this shot. This is so great from the closet.
How much?
That was Paul in the bottom of the closet there.
Yeah.
Million. That's right.
Million? Yeah. You're going to pick up $7 million of cartel money?
It's interesting you talked about that little interrogation room box set, because we've shot so much in this apartment, this condo that Jimmy and Kim live in. But I feel like it feels different every time we go in for some reason. And this you and the other directors have always found new ways of shooting in this place.
Well, this is a great set, and it's not like the set of the interrogation room is a bad one. It's very realistic. It looks like what it's supposed to be. But yeah, our wonderful designers had some fun with this thing, and there's a lot more fun angles in this. Hey, Bob, what were you thinking in this scene when you and Ray were getting into it here? Was this a fun one to shoot?
Oh yeah. I mean, this is Jimmy deluding himself that this is going to be okay, and he does a fair amount of that in the course of this story. And he's good at it. He's good at pulling the wool over his own eyes. But it's maybe one of the hardest ones, though, because this great moment at the end where he gets to show that he's worried that makes it all okay for me. Because he really can't. If he really could fool himself that this was an easy job, and I don't think he's the person we've gotten to know.
Yeah.
So just that he got that moment, yeah.
And that was a moment actually that you guys were so great that it actually saved us, because we had a few little scenelets scripted for Jimmy's departure, to see him leaving in the middle of the night to make this drive. But it felt like after we saw that scene, we just didn't need it. It felt like you guys had sort of said everything with your faces that we needed to say, so we could drop those pieces and not have to shoot them, which was great. Because this was such a challenging schedule. So,
man, was it ever? You're right. So this is over almost within walking distance of Q Studios. This was the closest desert location. This would be like a half-hour walk to the studio. And remember, there was that weird car parked out there?
Yeah.
That, we were afraid there was a dead body in it we were going to find?
Yeah, there was an abandoned or semi-abandoned car that it seemed like somebody may have been living in at some point, but that there was just nothing, and we just had no idea what it was, and had to get our locations crew to figure it out and make sure that we could move it and stuff.
Yeah. This was a fun scene.
Yeah.
Bob, you're so damn funny here. Love the way you played this. This is the first time that Jimmy ever meets the cousins, right?
Yeah. These guys are scary, right on the face of it. What a mess.
Yo soy abogado. Lawyer.
Like that's going to make friends.
Abogado.
I could have kept going with the Woody Allen stammering. Said me to pick up the bag or money. I don't know if there's money. And
that's funny.
You guys look great. Do you shop in the same place, or do you shop at the same shop? That's great. Where do you go? Suit warehouse. Two for one. Let me guess.
You know what I love? I love in real life, Daniel and Luis here are the sweetest, goofiest guys in real life, and they'll talk your ear off in real life.
Yeah.
And playing this role, they never speak. That makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Now, let's talk about the weight of two bags that have 7 million.
Yep,
That's right.
7 million. Yep.
People are right to say there's no way you could carry that. And Gordon, you want to tell somebody, or you want to share the truth?
Sure. The truth is that that much money would weigh about 75 pounds per bag. So it's a Herculean effort. We felt like we could play it, because you're such a tough guy, Bob, that 75 pounds it is on the cusp of being absolutely impossible. But it's just heavy as hell. So we played it. The bags tended to have, depending on how much we needed them to look like they weighed, up to about 50 pounds per bag, so as not to kill you. But it was a little bit of a cheat on that. But the volume is pretty much spot on. The volume of bills in there is what the volume of bills would be. We just had to mess with it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, Vince, this was the hardest episode to shoot, and I really think you should share with everybody everything you did here, especially in this sequence.
It was a tough one, but man, it was a group effort, and the producers and the crew really moved heaven and earth to make this happen, because right here, this location is out on the Tahajali Indian reservation, and Tahajali is the same place where Walt and Jesse first cooked meth in the very first episode of Breaking Bad. But this part of Tahajali is probably an hour drive past that section, which is much closer to Interstate 40. So this is like a whole other location, even though it's all one enormous tract of property. And
it's the Navajo Nation. It's part of the Navajo Nation.
Exactly right. And they're wonderful folks out there. And it is a beautiful, beautiful landscape, beautiful country, but harder than hell to get to. And I'll let Gordon talk about and Peter talk about some of the production hurdles. What would you say, Gordon, about how hard it was to shoot out here?
It was incredibly hard. I mean, every time you see at any shot in any direction, that means that our transpo coordinators had to move, 50 vehicles out of the shot or move it around. We had to, every time we changed direction, something like this, we had to broom, an inordinate amount of crew to make sure that people were out of the way, and not just out of the way, but safe, because there are in fact, snakes and scorpions and various things in those bushes that we had to sweep for. So we had a snake wrangler out looking for critters. Anything you can think of that would be difficult was a difficulty out here because we were so far away. And also, it's as far as we are, just to say, sorry, Peter, but just to say, we still had to stop. This was an active road, and there were people that lived on either side of it. So every so often, we'd have to pause and let them through and get them clear, and then go back to doing our work. So,
I think that one of the things that makes this so special, in spite of all the hurdles that you guys were presented with, is it's so personal. It's not just a bunch of bang bang, and it's about Jimmy, and it's about Jimmy's view of all this. And Vince, I believe that you were trying to keep Bob in every single shot of this scene, pretty much. Is that right?
I tried. You just saw there's 2 shots right there where he's not in, but I tried to absolutely minimize the shots. There's one there, but there's hopefully no more than 4 or 5, maybe a half dozen shots that Jimmy is not at least in the background of. Here's another, but I tried to keep them rare. Because as you said, Peter, it really was this great script that you guys gave me to direct and that Gordon wrote. It really had to be. You had to be in Jimmy's head, and I should let the man himself let Bob talk about this. Bob, I have to say, leading into do you like killed yourself because it was so friggin' hot. Talk about what it was like to do all this stuff.
Well, I want to let Banks talk about how hot it was because it'll make me laugh. But John, I'm going to leave that to you. I really want you to rip into it. It was really hot. Let's let Banks.
Before we do that, and here is himself, and I make such a lovely entrance. But I want to talk about these guys, the stuntmen that worked on this. There was one of these days that it was 110 degrees, and there's one of the kids that I'll walk over and put a bullet in a minute, that he had to have his face in that road for a long time. They didn't complain, and I got to tell you, as so often happens, they were just a bunch of sweet guys. They were just good guys. But how hot was it, and how long did it take? Listen, audience, all these people talking about the conditions. We could have been out of there in 2 days if Vince Gilligan didn't direct us. We ended up. The seasons changed, for Christ's sake.
I needed to wait for the light, which is a Hollywood talk for I was in my trailer getting a massage.
Yes. Now, I got to tell you, Bobby, when I walked over here, I just thought you were doing such a great job. There's no other way to put it. I just really did. I mean, look at this. Look at this.
Yeah. Well, that's very nice of you, buddy.
But it's
the team around me. Look, it was scary as hell. It's actually scary to have all those blanks firing. They're very loud, and so that motivates you. And I don't think John feels the same way I do. I think John's the great marathon man. Quote from Olivier: "Next time, try acting," which I think is how John feels about all this stuff. Whereas I actually do think it helps me to be in pain, be hot, be worn out if my character's worn out, and it just helps me to feel like I'm playing it authentically if I can feel it. I know you're not, but you've got a few years on you.
You're right. You're right, Bobby. Just try acting, will you, for Christ's sake?
It's a joy to do these impossible things, as hard as they are. It's for me, it's just one of the great things. And this goes up back to my first episode of Breaking Bad, where Walter White and Jesse had me in the desert on my knees, and there was a sandstorm that night, and it was a nightmare outside, and we shot till 3 or 4 a.m. But I love it. I love it. I love spending the 2 weeks in the desert with you, John.
You know, I got to tell you, God, don't make me be sentimental, but after we were out of there, I'm telling you, it was the sunrises and the sunsets on those mesas, I think they're called, were magnificent.
Beautiful.
Magnificent.
Yeah, I always like it when you push us, guys. I mean, I know it's hard, and it is hard, and you look out for the crew, and we all did. Everybody is always looking out for this team of people, and that's a great thing about this group of people, the cast and the crew, is they listen to each other and they look out for each other. And I remember there was one day when I think it was one of the crew guys was kind of losing it. He was clearly getting into heat stroke territory, and you know, everybody was paying attention to that stuff and trying to help each other.
That's true.
But I love it. I love when we do challenging things. I mean, I don't think I would like doing a series that was inside an office every day, all day.
No, no, God forbid. No, I mean, trust me. No, it's not fun. This is, anyway, if I all of a sudden start talking about how good this was, I'm going to puke. I got to tell you.
Yeah. I will say one person that seemed totally unaffected by the heat was Paul Donahue, our camera op, who was walking around in just like a baseball cap and shorts and the same short sleeve shirt, just seemed completely unfazed by everything.
He is something. And he is just, he's a very fair complected blonde gentleman from the UK, and he just, if anyone on that set should have been burned to a crisp, you would think it would be him. But I don't know how he did it. He willed it. He willed himself not to get sunburned, I guess.
This was fun, man. Not gonna push the car over. Love it.
This was fun.
This little car, this great car, the esteem has been so great, fun to drive, and a great part of the show.
All right. Yeah. Now here, I put this thing in gear and I started to run with it, and I jumped in, and you guys, you didn't use that shot right now. And then I jumped into the car and you didn't use it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was very excited.
You talk about our stunt guys. This is we're coming up on a spot where the stunt guys really saved us because they stayed in it so much, because we have this planned the how the car was going to go over, but we couldn't know the exact condition of the cliffside, and they were pushing, and it didn't go exactly as we'd had in mind, but they stayed in it and they stayed in character and kept working, and the shot ended up, I would say it ended up better than we really had planned because of the fact that they kept their heads and kept going right here.
This shot
this
right
shot.
here, yeah, right. In other words, there's steel decking plate buried right up near the edge, but not to the edge, because we didn't know what would happen, how much of the edge would collapse. And it didn't go over like we thought it would. But thank God those two stuntmen in the wide shot, like you said, they stuck with it.
And it looks great because it looks like they have to try so hard.
Yeah,
we only had one shot at that car going over the edge.
That's right.
How many cameras did you have going, Vince? Do you remember?
I'm sorry, say it again.
How many cameras did you have going on that?
Oh God, probably a good 7 or 8. Well, six or seven. Yeah.
And I love the shot that you used, the GoPro almost camera in the dirt.
Yeah, we really covered the thing falling only in 2 cuts, and that's something. It's great if you're, have 6 or 7 cameras at your disposal, but nobody, just to all the budding filmmakers out there, nobody is forcing you to use all of them. Yeah, if the shot works in one angle, or maybe 2 angles out of the 6, don't feel some kind of need to use every single angle, because it'll just make it cutty, and it won't tell the story necessarily.
Well, that goes for this whole episode. You covered this a lot with a lot of angles. There's even more. I would say there's maybe more story and more scenes on the cutting room floor. I didn't have the T-shirt around my head when we left me,
right? And
I'm not sure if you made a moment out of that, but I love the restraint you show in the editing room. It really, it's something I appreciate.
Discontinuing. $1,000 bill.
So Bobby and I are sitting here. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a little dog comes up and sits down between us. And I'll kind of let you take it from there, Bob.
How about we take turns?
This is where we met?
This is where she came. This is where Taj came.
Well, there was this girl, we'll call her Taj, named after Tahaj Ali, and is a black cattle dog, and it was pregnant, and it came around and hung around with our crew for every day that we shot out here, and everybody got to love it and know it. And it didn't seem to have a home, although it was alive out in the desert, so somebody was bringing it water. And after Ray and I talked about it, and Patrick too, we decided we'd take it home and try to save it and help it have its babies. And we did do that. Took about another, another 9 weeks of production effort. And we brought it home and got it cleaned up and fed it well. And we first checked with the Navajo that it would be okay. We double and triple checked, and they said, yes, that's fine. And we brought that dog home, and it had its babies, and we found homes for all of them.
Well, I just thought the dog was big and kind of old. It turns out the dog was pregnant and had 8 puppies.
Yeah.
Was that one of the dogs that was with the squeak toy just a little while ago?
No, in fact, it's that dog that we met, John and I, here in this scene, and now I'm remembering it, John. Remember when she came up and wouldn't leave? That dog lives with Patrick Fabian now, and he loves her. And they've also got the runt of the litter, so they've got 2 of the dogs at their house, and they have had them for months now since we finished the season, and they're getting along wonderfully.
And all the puppies got adopted. All of them are in good homes. They're doing just fine.
Yeah.
Who delivered the puppies? Was anybody attached to the show who actually delivered the puppies?
Well, Ray Seehorn was alone when the babies started coming. I had gone home for the weekend, so she was alone, which was hard. But we have a driver, and I wish I had her name. Maybe somebody can get it.
I believe her name was Janet Jensen.
She was one of the Teamsters who knew all about birthing puppies, and she came to the house and helped. And she helped us to take care of them for the first 8 weeks in which they need to stay close to their mom. It was an adventure, and it speaks to friendship that we have as a cast, and it was a great, hopefully not too diverting, but a great way to share this season and make something good happen in the world besides some good TV.
I'm just going to say one last thing about the dog. When Bobby took the dog home, the dog had never put her feet on grass, her paws on grass. And she was very tentative with her paws when she touched the grass in Bobby's yard.
Yeah. So it was great. And it was challenging, but great. And you were so great, John. And that was a whole adventure unto itself, as was this episode was a real adventure.
I thought this was fun. The idea Gordon explained that you really can, or Vince, that you really can get water if you do this.
Yeah, talk about this, Gordon.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a solar still. It's one of those survival tools that people don't necessarily think of. But if you build a little pit and get, anything that might have water in it, some greens. You could even use fresh poop, anything, literally anything with water in it. You put it in the bottom, and you let it collect on the underside of the plastic, something that's airtight, and then it'll drip off of the plastic into a cup on the bottom as the air cools. So you set it out during the day, and then you let it cool overnight, and then whatever water has sort of collected underneath as vapor condenses on the plastic and then drips into a vessel that you set underneath it. So it's a great survival tool. Obviously you don't get that much water out of it because there's not that much water in the desert. But if you're pressed, get a plastic sheet out in the desert. Can save your life.
I learned it in Boy Scouts. Now look here, Vince. This is indoors.
Yes, this is our amazing production designer, Mark Freeborn, and his amazing construction team built this thing. Our builders, our plasterers, our construction crew built this as an exact match to the real place. But this one scene at night, because it would have been way too dangerous to shoot out there in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. So our amazing art department and construction folks built this. And then the sky, the stars are digitally added in, and the lighting, there's some ambient light because you can't shoot in just with a couple of light sticks, but those light sticks really are putting out the majority of the light on your faces there. And this was a fun scene to shoot. And Peter, you were here for this, right?
I was, and I remember Marshall consistently asking for a new light stick. He was watching very carefully because you guys you perform. You're not only performing the scene, you're also lighting it to a great extent, and it's just beautiful.
And that's true. The light sticks, they're really only they glow for hours and hours, but they only really put out a big amount of light for maybe 10 or 12 minutes. So we had literally cases of light sticks, so we kept going through.
Do you guys think about, and I'm sure you do, Mike and Saul in Breaking Bad and how they talk to each other and this experience that they went through, which had to, they really know each other after this.
You mean in the biblical sense?
Well, almost.
We cut that scene.
You didn't like that one, did you?
I'm just trying to think back to Breaking Bad, and
I got two of these. You want one?
This is a rare scene where these two. This is a rare episode, isn't it, Gordon and Peter, where these two come to some sort of understanding, or where it seems like Mike has any kind of respect whatsoever for Jimmy. Is that fair to say, Gordon and Peter?
I would say so. Yeah, it's definitely the most that we've really had the chance to see them together here, and I think there is hopefully there's a shared understanding that like you say, Bob, they take forward. I think it's one of the things that even as they don't necessarily love each other, that they stay together through all those years. They still, Bob, Saul can still call on Mike in the future, and vice versa.
it's definitely something we think about, Bob. And sometimes we will watch a scene from Breaking Bad and try to understand how this all plays in. So yeah, it is. It's sometimes, sometimes we call it Hell's own Rubik's Cube to try to make all these characters and all these hours add up and have a consistency.
But
and hopefully,
it does
will.
track because the first thing Saul does in Breaking Bad is call Mike to help with a dead body. Yes,
that's true. That's true.
And you would only
better
do
to
that.
Call.
Yeah, than somebody you've been through hell with.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here right now.
I love these two together.
Oh yeah.
I love seeing Ray and Tony together here. This was obviously their first scene together ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know who you are. Who you actually.
I'm going to say something, Gordon, because this I usually don't like to attribute a particular idea to anybody in the writers' room, but my memory is, and I think this is a good example of how our writers' room works. My memory is that we kind of were thinking about the episode. We were thinking, what's Kim up to? We had gotten pretty far into the episode. I think there was a certain point where Gordon, I think it was Gordon, said, I think Kim would go see Lalo. She knows his name. And that idea kind of turned the show on its head and changed basically every episode that's going to come afterwards. But if we had a grand plan for the whole season that we were trying to stick to, I don't think that would have ever happened. So this scene is, I think it's absolutely pivotal to her and to Lalo and to Jimmy. And I think it'll be pivotal to Mike too.
I love it. I love the way he plays this bit here. Oh, you love him.
It's such an exotic idea for him.
He's so good. We got the best cast on TV.
We really do.
Yeah.
I love seeing him work his way out of it. From the top of the scene. He's so angry and pissed, which we don't usually see that from him very much. He usually has his smiley face on, but seeing him work it out and the smile comes back, it's almost more chilling.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful scene.
Born survivor.
And beautiful light from Marshall Adams and Steve Latecki and the crew. Just great.
And if he's
Which I think, that like you say, Vince, this is the same. We have the same room over and over, but they did such a great job because we knew we had these two scenes to make them feel really, really different, even though, we were shooting them on the same day, basically.
Yes. Shit. That's the magic of the movies and TV. Yeah. Well, obviously we're shooting, well, I don't know, obviously, but yeah, we shot all this stuff. The first scene of Act 1 and then this scene, all of it was one day's work. This scene and then the previous scene with Bob.
There he is, smiling face.
But just before we leave that scene, just before Tony leaves the room, he stretches his arms before he gets cuffed.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
So that's so nice. I love that kind of stuff. We had some beautiful clouds in this episode. I'm really grateful for that.
And talk about the weather, Vince, because we had to stop a couple times with the thunderstorms.
Oh, that's right. We might have talked about this other years and other audio commentaries, but we have a lightning detector on the set, and it's some very sensitive piece of electronic equipment, and it can tell you when there's a lightning strike within 6 miles of your location. And anytime it's within 6 miles, we have to shut down, and everyone has to go take shelter. It's a safety thing. And we had that a couple times on this one because of those hot August thunderstorms would sweep through.
Talk about this montage.
This montage. Gordon is too sweet to toot his own horn here, but actually, like this shot, for instance, I think Gordon, you actually directed most of the shots in this, especially the wide ones. All the really beauty shots you were directing for this stuff, and I was busy getting a massage.
Well, I think, like you said before, this was all hands on deck at all times for this whole episode. So anything that we could shoot with doubles, we were trying to get any material we could while the main unit had endless work to do. So, if you see Bob and Jonathan's lovely faces, Vince is definitely directing all of that. But whenever we could, we were just trying to find anything to make use of the landscape.
So pretty much all the wide shots are two excellent photo doubles, two stand-ins, right? Yeah, did a great job.
Hold the phone, Malone. Hold the phone. Who the hell did you have walking out into East Jesus in the middle of nowhere?
That's true. That was you. That was you.
That was before. That was a different shot.
That's true. That was the one that starts on. It's already gone past us. It starts on the hill, and then you guys walk away, and then the sky speeds up. Yeah, that was definitely you. And thank you for doing that, Jonathan. We appreciate it.
I was wondering how long that shot was going to go on.
It went probably 30 minutes. It probably went 20 minutes, maybe not 30, maybe 20 solid minutes, which you can do now with digital versus shooting on film. I love the way you two guys played this.
Oh, this is so good.
This is so good. Hey, you know who we're not hearing from near enough is Dave. Dave, we missed some good music along the way you could have been talking about. Did you have a special philosophy for this episode, or kind of the same as the others, or what were you thinking when you were coming up with some of the wonderful music in this?
Oh, thank you, Vince. I think this was a unique episode in a lot of ways, very different from standard fare, if there is a standard fare for Better Call Saul. I'm not sure there is, but the music here in this episode, I think I'm helping tell the story when our actors are not actively telling the story, which is most of the episode. But there's opportunities and chances here to help elevate the scope of their dilemma. And also, I think just there too, not just with score, but with our source music to help with the passage of time. Obviously, this episode takes course over quite a long period of time, much longer than our 50-minute episode. So sort of helping the audience feel the weight, literally and figuratively, of what they're doing here, and make it as personal as possible.
I gotta say, I love your music that just played during that montage, which reminds me of the Eminem song, of course. But it was something original from where's it from again?
Well, that was source music. Yeah, that was a pre-existing Labi Sifri, if I'm pronouncing the wonderful musicians, the artist's name correctly. But that was from 1974, and that was sampled in the Eminem song.
Right.
Eminem, the rapper, not the candy. But yes, it was. That's a fun one. But there's a piece of Dave's music coming up here that is just tremendous. When the shit really hits the fan here, coming up at the end of the episode. And was there a favorite piece you had, Dave, of your score in this episode?
Yeah, I think if you're alluding to the piece that ends the episode or comes close to ending the episode, that's a special one for me. Just because it's one of the things that music can do if you're lucky enough to be on a great show like this, is take something that's truly big and then elevate it to a level that's beyond just one episode. And that's the beauty of being a composer that works on every episode is I get to keep track of the story, hopefully, and help out where I can for the duration. And as we come up to the end of the episode, there is a piece of music that could have been a very action-oriented piece, not unlike the piece in the big shootout earlier in this episode. But I think we talked about it extensively in post, and we talked about how it was such a big moment for the series. This moment where Saul takes charge of the moment and sort of comes up with his plan to rescue the day, as it were, and that it was not just a moment of action, but a moment that's going to propel our story and be a big change in our story from here, presumably forward to the end.
Well, that's a beautiful. It's coming up here in a little bit. Beautiful music, and Bob, I love the way you play. Not to jump around, but how I love the way you did that just then with the pulling the or tripping over the cactus. Was that fun?
Oh yeah. That's close to comedy right there. You know, the impromptu, the moment that he just thoughtlessly shoves his foot into a cactus and he's cooked. I loved it. I love it. It's look at these two. Poor.
How thoughtful it is of the actor that's standing to throw his shadow on your.
Well, only the best.
Not to get mushy here about this, but I can't help it. You know, Mike says something here, and he's not using these words, but he says, "Well, you know, why am I out here? I'm out here for love. I'm out here because of people I care about." And I think that rings. That's one of the things that makes that piece of music that's coming up ring so strongly, is that Jimmy's not just out there to survive for himself. He's also out there to survive for the woman he loves, so he doesn't just disappear on her, because that's definitely on his mind. And it just there's something beautiful about it, and it's, I don't know. I find this whole part. It's this whole part of the episode, which is an action sequence that's coming up, but I find it more than just an action sequence. I think it's really about Jimmy using Mike as an example and reaching down inside himself and finding something that maybe he didn't know was there.
Well put.
There it is.
So it is my time.
Oh God,
that's the real deal right there.
Jesus,
don't swell his head. He'll ask for more money.
fat chance of that.
Look at that guy's lips. What a mess.
I'm going to tell you though. You talk, maybe this is. I'll do it quickly. You talk about the relationship between the two and what happens in Breaking Bad. When you experience a near death, that you almost die with somebody, and you're dependent on each other, they are a part of your life forever.
Yeah, it's like going through combat together, I would imagine. I don't have that. I don't know personally, but I would imagine something like that.
Now, Corey Eubanks, right?
Corey Eubanks.
Talk about that. Talk about Corey, who I
want to say this real quick. You know, you're going to see a wonderful stunt, and Corey Eubanks has been doing this since he was very young, and because he was Bob Eubanks' son, older stuntmen didn't necessarily like the way he got into the business, and they did some things to him that were downright, threatened that they allowed to happen. And so we won't say names, we won't do anything. But Corey Eubanks became one of the great stunt drivers of all time.
Whenever I do anything, I can mention Corey's name, and everyone knows him. They all know him and how great he is at driving. And
he's the Leonardo da Vinci of cannon rolls here, or I don't know if that's the right analogy. The Michael Jordan. I don't know.
I lost $20 on this because of I'll wait till he gets there, but the number of rolls that this car takes, and I still think I should get the 20 back.
He also, he is our driver here, but he was the guy who gets in that car and drives off. So the acting that he does, firing the gun, the whole thing, he's there. So we didn't have to swap out a driver or anything like that. He does the whole spiel.
Yeah, that was actually Corey jumping in the car, shooting the machine gun, and then driving over the dead body. That was actually Corey, the guy who was actually doing this cannon roll coming up here. And the cannon roll, Gordon, was only 1 or 2 rotations shy of the world record. Is that what it was?
That is my understanding. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. and with a vehicle that's probably not the best suited vehicle. Well, or maybe it is well suited because it's so tall.
Probably not, Vince. I mean, think about a smaller car that is more rounded.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Would roll a lot more. This thing's kind of rectangular and wide, so
yeah, it's a good point.
This is a hard thing to flip multiple times. And look what he does. This is so fucking amazing. It was so fun to watch. Scary too. Because
I was holding my breath.
Yeah.
I
want to point out to the audience. Oh yeah, I want to point out to the audience. Bob is not actually in the. This is a shot he's matted in here because it would have been way too dangerous for him to be this close to this thing. So he's not actually. They're not in the shot together. That's the magic of our visual effects guys. What a cannon roll! What a stunt! Jesus.
And how many cameras?
Oh man,
all of them.
Yeah, all the cameras in New Mexico on that particular August. No, probably eight or nine. But again, if you got one great angle, you use it as long as you can. So we could have cut it. We could have milked it out longer. The way sometimes you cut an explosion because in real life it happens so fast. But we didn't feel we really needed to do that. Skip McDonald, the great Skip McDonald who edited this episode, really. I mean, he's the secret sauce.
Oh my God!
And Chris McCaleb on this show. That's the secret sauce as far as because that is storytelling, plain and simple. The editing.
And this sound here, which is interesting. The car when it made that barrel roll, it was still running. The engine was still running. It was still dying. So we. I think maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like we took and looped some of that actual sound of the car dying, and Nick Forshagger and his guys layered it in because it was so cool and creepy that it was just making that sound as it puttered away and died.
Absolutely. And this, Bob, I'm gonna toot your horn for you. This, I think, is the finest moment of acting I've ever seen you do, and that's saying a damn sight. That's saying a lot. This moment here. And we were also worried that Drink and Pee would be funny, like it would be inadvertently funny. The way this moment here, I love the way you play this.
Well, some people found it funny.
I don't know who would.
I think it's both.
Kind of funny.
I think it's
everything.
I think it's awesome.
I don't think it's funny.
Yeah,
it's not funny.
That guy is going to survive. He's going to survive. He's going to do whatever it takes.
He's a tougher guy.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Right. He's tougher than he knows. He learned something about himself on this episode. And here's this moment. It's the only time that Mike is following instead of leading. Because I think he's... would you say, Jonathan, that Mike has gained some respect here for this guy?
Yes. Yeah. And it's... It's a dullness that takes over you that... there's an awareness. I wanted to say there's more of an awareness than,
And what a great piece
job,
of music.
Guys.
Dave's
Great
music
job.
at the end there. Jesus, I don't know what it adds to this. It's inestimable. Just great.
Yeah.
The beautiful script.
Beautiful episode.
Great, amazing directing, Vince. Unbelievable. You're the only one who could have done it.
Me too, Bobby. We're not going to let Vince off that easy. What are you? The only one that could have kept us out there for 6 months, for God's sake.